Hi, I'm Ash Beck from Western Music Television. This is Horsepower in beautiful downtown Carmel-by-the-Sea, California.
I think my favorite thing about Cobras is they only made 998 of them. They're rude, crude, they aren't refined, but that's what it's all about.
Hi, I'm Ash Beck, and I am here with Brendan Finn, the owner of one of the most beautiful Shelby Cobras I've ever seen. Brendan, welcome to Western Music Television, and thank you for talking with us. Would you like to tell us a few things about this beautiful car of yours?
Yes, and thank you very much for the opportunity. This car is 1965, 289, CSX 2578. I'm the third owner. It was sold from Hayward Ford, delivered by Shelby's Transporter in 65. Purchased by a gentleman in Aptos on the Monterey Bay. Purchased by another gentleman in Portola Valley. And now it's purchased by me, and we reside in Marin County. So this car hasn't gravitated more than 80 miles from the day of delivery.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, how long have you owned this car?
I've owned this car for 3 years, but I've been in the Cobras since 1981. I have CSX 2178 and CSX 3131 as well.
Wow. And now, is this considered more of a later model Shelby?
This is towards the very end of the run of 289s. It's all original with the exception of the paint, original seats, original motor, original carpets, original everything. It's not been abused. It's when the gentleman I bought it from 3 years ago, when he purchased it in 1975, it had 38,000, and now it has 54,000, and I've put maybe 1,000 miles on it, if that.
That sounds pretty pampered, actually. Now, if you had to pick one song that goes along with this car, what would you choose?
It's a pretty easy decision. Red Rooster, Sammy Hagar, can't go 55.
You can't go wrong with that. Thank you very much, Brendan. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Hi, I'm Ash Beck from Western Music Television. Horsepower, I'm here with Walt Smith. Do you want Walter or Walt?
Walt's good.
Okay, Walt has one of the coolest 1971 small black Cudas on the planet, and I can tell you, this is just such a great California classic. Look at this beauty. Now, what was your attraction to buying this, Walt?
Well, first and foremost, it was not only the color, but the white interior. I really have an affliction for cars with white interiors because they're quite rare, and particularly with this color combination, it's quite striking. So that's initially what drew me to the car.
Now, what is the funnest thing about this car?
I'd say the funnest thing about the car is driving and getting a reaction from people. You know, not a lot of people have seen a 71 Cuda, let alone one in this color combination. So I just enjoy taking it around and sharing it with other people.
Now, even though this is a small block, when you step on it, what happens?
It gets up and goes. You know, it'll go up to 6,000 RPM, 275 horse. It's got the Carter 4-barrel thermoquad carburetor, and it'll do the quarter in about 14 seconds, 100 miles an hour.
That's pretty admirable. That's pretty decent. Now, as far as this car goes, what is probably the equivalent in another car? Let's just say, like, if you were up against in a drag race, who would you want to be racing?
Well, I think really I'd compete against the Trans Am cars. So you'd look at the Z28 Camaro with the 302, probably a pony car with the 289. So somewhere in that neighborhood would be a good competitor for me.
How many years have you owned this car?
I've owned the car for about 8 years.
Within that time, what have you done as far as restoration on this car?
Well, I bought the car as a pretty good driver, and so in the last 8 years, I took it up kind of that last 10-15%, which is always, the hardest part in the journey. But it was really a labor of love. I really enjoyed it. I don't turn a wrench too much, but enjoyed sort of shepherding it through the process to get it up to where it is today.
Well, it's amazing because there's not many great examples of this car left. And when you take a look at the racing stripes, this is a very unique combination, I do have to say. First I've ever seen like this.
Yeah, I haven't seen another one. I've seen a 71 Hemi in Sassafras. I think there was one six-pack car made in Sassafras with a white top, but other than that, it's a fairly rare car in terms of the color combination.
Absolutely. Now, what is it like to drive this car?
It's a lot of fun. You have to be kind of cognizant. It's got power steering, and drum brakes. So no tailgating here, and you got to make sure they're kind of warm before you really want to put the stop to it.
So you kind of coast down to the slow, right?
Exactly right. You look ahead and you coast down to the slow, and then you give it the pressure that it needs to bring you to a stop.
Fair enough. Now, just taking a look at the engine, this does have the full hood scoop to it on there. What is another unique feature about this car?
Well, the shaker hood is really unique. Not a lot of cars came out with that option, and so particularly on a 340 car, it's quite a unique option to have on a car such as this.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about in this car that's special to you?
I like the steel wheels, kind of the old school with the poverty caps. The white billboards really stand out. And certainly the white interior with the white top. So all that taken as a whole really creates a striking example of this particular model.
Well, you don't get to see many convertibles, especially, and that must have been a big draw to this car.
Yeah, definitely. Back in the day, not a lot of people that were particularly into high performance ordered a convertible because they're just by their nature heavier, and you get some torque in the body as well. So if people wanted to go fast, they traditionally would order a coupe as opposed to a convertible, and therefore that's what makes a convertible sort of performance car like this quite rare.
Absolutely. Now, just getting back to the original, now were these standard wheels, the physical tires on there?
A base wheel, so you could either have a rally wheel, which would be more of a brushed aluminum wheel, or you go with a steel wheel. And here you got the steel with either, they're referred to as poverty caps or dog dish. So just an extra element of green if you don't have enough up top.
Well, you know what? It certainly is a great color combination. Like I said, even within the side vents on there. This is immaculate. I just appreciate when somebody goes through such a detail to make something. You are a steward for this car at this point in history.
Definitely. And you referred to these. These are actually, so this is a CUDA after the Barracuda fish, right? The fighting fish. These are the gills of the fish right here. So you got 4 gills on each side, and then you have what's referred to as the cheese grater grill up front, the color key grill.
Well, it's an absolutely beautiful example. Again, the first I've ever seen in this color. Now, Walt, if you had to pick one song that represents this car, what would it be?
Ash, I think the one song that comes to mind when I drive this car is Take It Easy by the Eagles.
Oh, that is a worthy song. This is absolutely beautiful, and you kind of cruise all year long in this, don't you?
Cruise with the top down and my elbow out. Yes, it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it.
Thank you very much, Walt. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ash.
It's the idea that you're
Hi, I'm Ash Beck with Western Music Television's Horsepower. I'm here with Don Demetrianis, and we are with Don Gurney's 1969 Mustang 302 Boss Modified. Don just won Best in Class for race cars, and Don, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. Why don't you give us some tidbits about this beauty and how you came to acquire such a beautiful car?
It's the first Carcraft Boss 302 that was manufactured, and then there were two other Carcraft prototypes, and then from there they developed the Boss Trans Am program, which they produced another 7 vehicles. I bought the car in 2014 after it had been restored by a gentleman by the name of Phil Gallant, who found the car and lovingly restored it and started to showcase and race the car back in 2010. He's then sold it to another gentleman by the name of Marty Ballou, and I bought it off Marty. We were friends. He knew I liked the car. He knew I loved the car, to be honest, and I had first right of refusal, and I went ahead and bought the car when it came available.
You know what's amazing is you take a look at people like you know the history of the car from where it came from. And we look at all these restored cars, but this is a track car. You're racing this coming weekend, and you are also Australian. You came here from Australia with this car for this show, and you just won Best in Class. Must feel pretty good.
Yeah, I do. It's a very big privilege and honour to be here and be invited. We're here to run at the Rolex reunion. We just finished the pre-reunion. I run in the historic Trans Am group, which are vehicles that raced back in the day as per specifications, and they are true to the heritage that they hold. They're not modified. They've got modern componentry to try and make them more reliable and racer friendly, but they are still as agricultural as what they were back in the day.
You know what's fantastic? You just lit this up a couple minutes ago, and it was loud and beautiful. What is one of the most exciting things about driving this car?
Probably the look and the waves you get from people that recognise the car. There is so many fond memories, and people come up, whether it be at car shows, whether it be at the racetrack, and actually have got a story. If they don't have a story about themselves, they've got somebody that had a story and can associate back in 1969, 1970, when these cars were the dominant factor. Race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
So Don, this is Dan Gurney's car, and it is phenomenal. He was one of my favorite race drivers. Would you like to talk a little bit about owning his legacy?
There's no greater privilege than owning something and maintaining it to the same level as what it was back in the day, and the way it was run, for Dan and the Shelby team. The car has got very good history, and that's what makes you want to turn around and maintain and continue the same history. And you sit in the car and you think, there's been some pretty cool people in here. I mean, the car was raced by Peter Revson and Horst Queck as well.
Wow.
So Horst Queck was Horst Queck was an Australian, so I have a connection there. Recently I found out, and you keep learning about the car, that the car was used, I believe, as part of a test program for Goodyear race tyres, and that was actually driven by about the car, and the more you do, the more you learn, the better you feel.
Well, this car has some serious ghost to it. That's amazing. They're all legends, and to have that and carry that forward must be a great privilege.
It is. I mean, you do think about it and say, well, I hope I don't stick it in the wall or do something stupid, because I'll get haunted for the rest of my life. But you do race it. You do go out there and you do compete, and you try to pay homage and honour to the history of the car.
It's wonderful, and the color on this car is amazing. This does not disappoint. This is absolutely one of the most pristine, beautiful race cars I've seen. How does this perform on the track for you?
The car performs very, very well. I had a good run last weekend. A couple of weeks ago we were over at Goodwood and ran up the hill there with the Duke of Richmond, invited by him, and again they were doing a commemoration to Dan. At Sonoma, ran well. The car performs.
What other shows has this car been in?
I don't really do a lot of shows with it, but we do the events that the historic Trans Am group run. The car actually doesn't go back to Australia. It stays here in San Diego and commutes around from San Diego and across to the East Coast whenever.
So basically, you travel and have a lot of fun.
I do. Someone's got to do it.
Might as well be you, right?
Very true, very true.
And if you had to pick one song that goes with this car, what song would that be?
Well, it'd have to be Thunder Road, Bruce Springsteen.
That is a very worthy song for a thunderous car like this. Don, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm here with Don Wallison to talk about his 1967 350 Shelby Mustang. Don, how long have you had this car?
Well, I bought it in 1994, and I bought it from a fellow in the NorCal Shelby Club. So I bought the car, and it looked pretty much the way it does now, but it had a lot of mechanical problems, and got those fixed over the years. And this car has never been hot rodded. It was originally shipped from Shelby to San Antonio, Texas. And as such, the guy who bought it there wanted a car with air conditioning. So this is one of the few Shelby GT350s that actually has air conditioning.
Well, that's amazing. Being in Texas, it gets a little hot there too. But this came from the El Segundo plant, correct?
It did, yes. The car was from Ford. It came from the Milpitas plant, and then from Shelby, the LAX Englewood plant.
Now, Don, you're an engineer by trade. Did you do the electrical upgrades and the things like that, or did you basically have somebody help you restore that?
Well, the electrical system on the car was pretty good. I had to redo the wiring on the rear tail lights because it was all boogered up, but I got that fixed, and then there was wiring for the front headlights and turn signals and all that stuff, so I got that straightened around.
Well, everything is very original on this car, and this is the original color, is that correct?
It is a original color. This particular car was originally white.
Oh, is that right? Well, it's a spectacular paint job as well.
So it was restored in 1985, 86, 87, and it was painted candy apple red, which is a standard color for these cars, and it's a single stage paint job, so there's no clear coat on it, and it's held up really well.
Now, what's your favorite thing about this car? What's it like to drive?
It's a marvelous car to drive. It's got the small block 289 hypo engine, and it's got an automatic transmission, so it's easy to drive. And the 67 had a little less stiff springs than the earlier cars, so it's actually a pleasant car to drive on the road.
Now, what if you step on it? Does it kind of respond pretty quickly?
It will go.
We hope so.
Yeah, I used to do what's called open tracking at Sears Point and Laguna Seca and Thunder Hill, and then a couple of times down in Southern California at the Auto Club Speedway.
Were you racing SCCA at that point?
I know this car has never been a race car, but I got it up to about 130 on the Auto Club racetrack.
That's kind of a nice little speed for this, by far.
Yeah, it's about as fast as it'll go.
Now, the unique thing about this car, too, is that Don had Carroll Shelby sign the dashboard, which is phenomenal. Carroll Shelby, obviously one of the most renowned car engine designers in the world, and this is such a magnificent example of his work. What's it like to just have a piece of history?
Well, with the NorCal Shelby Club, we have an annual, what we call mini-nats up at usually at Sears Point, and once in a while Shelby and his crew would come up, and one year he did, and so you can take a car part that you have on your Shelby and take it to where Carol was sitting there signing car parts. And for $50, he would sign it, and the $50 went to the Carol Shelby Children's Foundation.
Well, that's wonderful, but it's also, some people might take a small piece of metal. This is a good portion of the dashboard.
Yeah, I thought it was a good thing to do, not to sign a valve cover or something like that, but something that people could see.
Well, I tell you, it's a fine thought. This is a wonderful car, and we really appreciate your time. If you had to associate one song that goes with this car, what song would that be?
Oh, I'm not a music guy, so
How about we pick one for you?
okay, pick one for me.
We'll do that. Don Wallison with his 1967 Mustang Shelby 350. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ash Beck with Western Music Television. We're at Horsepower in Carmel, California. This is Gear and Renee. What do you want to tell us about this beautiful 1965 bus?
So it's a 1965 VW bus Samba Deluxe.
WMTV rocks!
Thank you, it does.
So Ash, we bought this rust bucket 2 years ago and did a full restoration on it
Where did you buy that?
in Portland, Oregon.
Well, that's a little out of California, but close enough.
Yeah, well, that's where it was delivered, in Portland, Oregon. You know, we brought it here and did a full restoration on it. It's been complete for about 10 days, and it's in the show here in Carmel.
10 days. Now, we have to also introduce the two little rock stars here with Gear and Renee. It makes it very California, doesn't it?
Absolutely. This is Khaleesi and Sheba,
Ah, there you go.
also known as Purple Dog Carmel on Instagram.
Yeah, Purple Dark, that's absolutely phenomenal. Now, so can you talk a little bit about this? And mine, I do have to say, in horsepower, we have these big block V8s, we have these big block cars, plenty of horsepower. This is probably the least in horsepower, but probably one of the biggest classic California styles there is. So that's what it has a lot going for it.
So it may be the least in horsepower, but it's the most in cool, okay? So this is like probably, in all seriousness, one of the coolest cars at the show today. It's an iconic vehicle that has gained in popularity. It's incredible.
And price, I might say.
Yeah, no, big time in price, right? You could have bought one of these cars for like $1,700, brand new in 1965. This car is upwards to $200,000 or $300,000 now, fully restorated.
Now, I also have to say that the windshield was always unique in this. I always love that it opened out. This is a complete, beautifully restored car. Now, do you want to talk about pretty much all of this is original, minus just a few things?
Yeah, so when we bought this car, it was our goal to really make it an original transformation of what came out of the factory in 1965. There's only a couple of modifications that we made. We put disc brakes on it because in Germany today, if you owned this car, they wouldn't allow it with the original drum brakes.
Oh, they're so particular.
I know they are. And the car came originally with 45 horsepower, so if we loaded the car up, we wouldn't make it up Carmel Hill with 5 guys and surfboards. Right?
How about downhill?
Probably downhill. Probably downhill we'd be okay. So we added a engine that is 75 horsepower. So it's not a huge increase, talking about horsepower, but you know what? It sounds pretty good.
That's about double. That's going to get you where you're going. What's your favorite thing about this car?
You know, I love the walkthrough, okay, versus the bucket seats that some of them have.
You know what? It's definitely very, very roomy. This is like a party van back in the 60s.
Yeah, so you know you talked about the windows. So they're called Safari windows, right? The Safari windows were not standard on American buses that came from Germany. They were only delivered to Africa and South America as regular equipment. But you could order them as an option, and only the cool surfers were the guys that did that. And we have the Safari windows on our bus.
This is amazing. I do have to say one of the things, this car was completed 10 days ago. That's how dedicated the people are bringing these cars to this show. The Concourse of the Avenues is one of the greatest car shows there is on the entire planet. Now also, you have others that have probably graced here. But what's your collection like?
So, before I go there, I'd like to talk about the bus behind me. Sure. That bus is my partner's bus, the guy that was giving us a bad time in the beginning, Chris. So,
Chris doesn't have two dogs.
Chris does not. He has only one dog. But he inspired me on the buses. He's had his bus for about 6 or 7 years, and this is his 3rd year at the show. He's won it twice with that bus.
So you're hoping to unseat the gentleman this year, is that correct?
Ash, that's exactly the idea. We're going to unseat the champion with the new greater bus. But back to your question, we are an enthusiast of cars. We actually have a couple of cars that do have a lot of horsepower. We have an 84 Carrera original Porsche 911 that's had since 85. We have a 2000 Ferrari 360 challenge car, which is very fast, very quick. And our latest addition before this one was a 1969 GMC C10, absolutely restored, but with a Corvette engine, bare brakes, big rear end, massive tranny. That car could blow away most cars on this street.
You basically get yourself into trouble real quick with something like that, don't you?
I do. we like fast cars, Ash. We like fast cars. But it's like my partner says, Gare, we got to go in VW speed every now and then. And that's what we're doing today.
That's kind of, for the cruising part, I totally get that. Now, what's your favorite car of the whole collection?
I love the Ferrari.
They're just wonderful. They're fast. They're beautiful. They're sleek. What else could you possibly want? And this as well. Now, you want to talk about the color. This is a very unique color to the VW van.
Yeah, so this color is called seal wax red. It really looks orange, right? Gray, and it really looks like mocha. But that's what the color was in 1965. We went painstakingly to find the person that could match the color, because back then, all the paint was lead-based. Right, so it's not lead-based, and that process took about 2 months just to get the paint to perfection. So this color, the seal wax red and the gray, is really very close to what came out of the factory.
Now, you were telling me the restoration was about 18 months on this car.
So no, actually the restoration was 2 years. The painting the car was 18 months. Sanding it, getting rid of all the rust. There was a lot of rust on the car. We got rid of all the rust. The primer had to, when it was primed, it had to sit for 2 months before they could do another process to it. It's kind of a crazy process, but as you can tell, it turned out pretty nice.
What they use the metal seal. They did everything like that to keep anything coming back. Sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So the car will probably never get rust on it again, hopefully.
Well, in California, we don't get much rain. It's kind of the perfect climate. This is one of the reasons why people love these cars out here, because they sustain their beauty and you get to enjoy them year-round. Thank you very much.
Ash, it was great. Thanks for taking your time to talk to us today about this beautiful car.
Now, one last question, and the most important question. If you had to pick one song that goes along with this car, what song would that be?
My Girl by the Temptations.
That's a very, very worthy song to go along with this beauty. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure, Ash. Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
I'll give you that. Hi, I'm Ash Beck, and I'm here with Jim Bringhurst. We are with a 1932 Highboy. Jim, would you like to elaborate upon this fine California machine?
This is original California 32 Ford Roadster body, original 32 Ford frame, and it's built in the tradition. If you wanted the ultimate hot rod in 1952, that's probably what you would have wanted.
Well, this is very much a classic California beauty. Now, how long have you owned this?
About 2 years.
It's in miraculous condition. Did you buy it like this, or did you restore?
I bought it semi like this and redid most of the car.
What would you like to tell us about it? What's very important about this car to you, and why did you buy it?
Everything on this car is built as it would have been built in 1952. It has got 1952 magnesium sprint car wheels, which they used in Indianapolis. It's original Ford body, it's original Ford frame. and it's built like 1952 would have been built. It's got 1952 gauges on it. Most of the car is, almost all the car is exactly what would have been built in 1952.
Now, do you step on this occasionally?
Occasionally, but it's a pretty expensive motor now.
Very much so. Now, a car like this, you would also see people riding on the Bonneville Salt Flats with. This thing is just an open roadster. It's absolutely beautiful, beautiful condition. Now, what is your attraction to this car? Why did you buy this car?
I grew up about 3 blocks from Pomona Drag Strip, and I got the disease very, very young. I used to ride my bicycle down the drag strip, and 32 Fords have always been my favorites.
So this is very dear to your heart.
Very dear to my heart, yeah. In the old days, you would have seen people a lot. This was the jalopy in the old days. You would have seen kids in the rumble seat, people just playing. They were just an old car way back, but now they're pretty prized.
Do you own any other cars like this?
We have a 48 Ford Woody, and we have a 32 three-window coupe.
So, Jim, if you had to pick one song that represents this car, what would that song be?
It would be the Little Deuce Coupe by the Beach Boys, although this is a roadster, it doesn't have a top.
You know, it's a pretty worthy choice. This thing must be a lot of fun to drive.
It's a lot of fun. They're pretty fast, too.
Has it gotten you in any trouble?
Not yet.
Expecting that it might?
No. Most of the police love these cars, and then, usually if you get stopped, they don't want to see your car.
Is that right?
Yeah, they want to see your car.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of fans that would like to pull you over and check this thing out, because I was stunned by this. We just stopped in our tracks. Absolutely beautiful car, Jim.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Thank you for your time. Hi, it's Ash Beck. Welcome back to Horsepower with Western Music Television. We've had a great day in Carmel-by-the-Sea with Concourse of the Avenues. Thanks for joining us. WMTV rocks.